Welcome back, Get Smarter listeners, to our part 2 episode of my interview with Keith Mobley. If you listen to episode 1, part 1 of our interview, you'll remember that we talked about our current approaches to maintenance and reliability. We talked about some management philosophies, and we were just getting into talking about lifecycle asset management and how lifecycle asset management is not maintenance, but it is a culture, it is a philosophy. So just like literary epics, we're going to start in medias res. We are going to jump right into episode 2, where I have just said and introduced the topic of LCAM, lifecycle asset management, as a philosophy, and we'll see where Keith takes us from there. I'm not going to share any spoiler alerts. I want you listeners to come along with me for the ride, and a special thank you to Keith Mobley for spending so much time with us, you listeners, and with me. It was really a joy to film these 2 episodes. So with that, no further ado, here you go, listeners. Part 2, my interview with Keith Mobley. Lifecycle asset management is not maintenance. It is a culture. It is a mindset. It is a
philosophy.
A philosophy.
You know, I push, or don't push, but I encourage people to read all 3 sections of ISO 55000. Now, it took years to put that program together. It came off of a British standard.
Pass.
Pass 55.
Yes.
And it took even longer. Now, I was on the advisory board, ISO advisory board, in the 15 years it took to develop that beast. I mean, it literally took 15 years to get that out.
Yeah.
But it didn't go far enough. I mean, it's like 5001, the one you said you read, Tara. That gives you the overview. It says, here's what it would look like.
Yeah.
And it is the enterprise view of here's what it looks like.
It's high level. Yeah, it's high level. Yeah.
And then you got one that says, here's the software systems you need in place, the information systems you need in place to support it. But it doesn't tell you what you need to do.
It doesn't.
No. So it truly is a philosophy, because it doesn't have any meat to it. But what we've tried to do with this Maintenance Management Re-envisioned is to put the meat to it.
Well, let me pull on that thought. So let's say, for our listeners, out there, they're like, okay, I want to do that. I'm in. I want the philosophy. What are some first steps? And knowing what you said before, like maintenance, if you're in maintenance or whatever, if you're part of a corporate reliability program or whatever, you can only do so much. You can only be the master of your domain, right? But what are some things that people can do to start on the path of doing the right thing the right way, to quote Jim Fye?
Funny you should ask that question. There are sessions 7A and 7B of this year-long course. 7A is maintenance management for industrial plants, and 7B is for facilities. And we can't forget.
Yeah, like hospitals or
data centers, all those other things.
Data centers, yeah.
But what we do in that session is we take all that's been learned in the first 6 sessions and boil it down. So, okay, you don't have unlimited resources. You don't have corporate buy-in. You don't have, any support structure. What can you physically do?
Yeah.
And then we try to condense it down to things that are within the span of control of the maintenance manager and what they can do. But let me try to answer the question if I can. Again, going back to what I said a minute ago, the first step you've got to do is clearly enunciate, clearly define, not just for yourself in maintenance, but for the rest of the organization, three things. Your mission statement.
Yep.
This is the reason we exist. Your value statement. This is the way we're going to do business. And then your vision of where you want to be at the end of this journey. You got to do that. You got to know exactly what maintenance is going to do. You got to put it in terms that production can understand what's in it for them. Yeah, with them is alive and well again. That executive management understands what it's going to do.
It's what we use. Declaring it. You're declaring it.
It's like what we used to call the elevator speech.
Yeah, your pitch.
Yeah, where everybody can understand starting day one, this is what we're going to do. Here's the value we're going to add to the organization. And here's the things that are going to govern how we do business.
Yeah.
And that's the first step. Now, that sounds like it's really, really difficult. It's not, because it is what you want it to be. It's like I use a video in the training course that's called Managing for the Future. And it says basically, how can you manage something that you can't measure, something that you can't see, that you can't touch, that you can't feel? And he goes on to say that it is what your mind tells you it can be. So take the blinders off. Get rid of all the baggage that you're carrying and to find, here's the way it should be.
Here's the way it should be.
And get that in terminology that is basically your elevator speech. It can't be War and Peace. It's got to be something that is very
well,
clear.
That everybody can latch on to,
right?
And that they can work towards and be proud of.
Right,
you know, it's time for maintenance to stop feeling like they're servants
and
to production.
Yeah.
And to take pride in the value that they bring to the organization.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is you got to know where you are. And there's no way around it. You've got to do an assessment. Now, it can be a self-assessment. You can hire a consultant to come in and do the assessment.
Yeah, you have to know your current state.
You got to know it. Because, I mean, if you don't know, where do you start? It
can help you prioritize, right?
Absolutely.
It can help
absolutely.
You, and that goes back to your budget, about if I know what I need to do, then I can get the resources to do it.
Now I can build my sustaining budget, my activity-based budget.
Now you can build. I love that.
Now, by the way, you mentioned zero base, and I snapped at you. Jimmy Carter, when he was president, is given credit for creating the zero-based budgeting.
I didn't know that. Are you serious?
I'm serious. And basically what he told all the government agencies that they had to do is take a clean sheet of paper and justify every penny you're going to spend for your budget.
Okay.
So you literally started with zero and started saying, okay, I got to do these tasks, and each of these tasks is going to take X number of dollars and are going to require certain resources, and you build up the whole budget. Well, in zero-based budgeting, the Carter version, you do that, you start over next year with a clean sheet of paper, do the same thing. So it's labor intensive to do.
That seems.
So what we teach is activity based. We only build it up one time.
Okay.
Because we know the assets, we know our equipment list, we know all the assets we're responsible for. We take, and it is labor intensive. You go in and define all of the sustaining maintenance tasks that have to be done for that particular asset. Once you've done that, then you will develop the labor you need by skill sets to do the direct work. Then you would determine how much indirect you need, planners, schedulers, supervisors,
Stores.
so forth.
Yeah.
And so you build it up literally from the bottom up. The difference between it and zero-based is you don't throw that away. Next year, when we go into the budget, if we've taken assets out of the stable, we'll deduct those out of the budget. If we've added new ones into the stable, then we'll add those into the budget. So
Right.
we never repeat all that work over again.
Yeah, it's
Only
tedious. You don't
only the
really need to
changes.
do that. Yeah.
Only the changes. But it's the only way you can right size the budget. It's the only way you can right size the budget.
Yeah.
And if I've gone through that and I sit down with the leadership team and they say that's too much money, you can show them here which assets do you mean to run to failure.
Exactly. What you help me prioritize this
Right.
then,
Right.
and it is on you.
Right.
But if you have a life cycle asset management culture, then
Well,
I all the pieces fit together.
Well, I'll say one thing. I have never in 60 plus years talked to anybody at any level in an organization that would intentionally make a bad decision.
People want to do the right thing, ultimately, right?
But there's thousands and thousands of bad decisions made every day based on bad information.
And that's the thing. You have to know, you have to have the data. So now I'm going to talk about technology. Everybody.
I knew you would get there before it was over with.
Everybody is digitalization, IoT,
digital twin, machine learning,
machine learning, AI, industry 4 point, whatever.
Yep. Well, you're getting ready, or industry is getting ready to perpetuate another mistake.
So, but I love our discussion because you know what? We haven't been talking about the gadgets. We've been talking about the foundation, but talk about the gadgets. What's going on?
Let me take you back a few years.
Okay.
This was probably mid '90s. I was asked to go down to Houston to the big hydrocarbon conference and teach 2 workshops. One of them was on equipment reliability or asset reliability.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they were joking with me because at that time the petrochemical industry was quadruple redundant on everything, and everything was purchased based on best efficiency points. I mean, they bought quality equipment and then made it redundant on top of that. The second one that they wanted me to teach was on computerized maintenance management. And before the one on CMMS started, I was, like I do before sessions just to warm up, was talking to some of the people that got in early. I was talking to 5 guys from Chevron. And they said in the last 3 years, we have started implementing 5 different CMMSs.
What? But I mean, we see that today.
Somebody would go, a VP would go to a trade show and they'd see all these bells and whistles and color graphics and things popping up on the CMMS vendor screens and say, hey, you can get rid of your maintenance manager and this will solve all your maintenance problems. You need to buy this system.
All you need is a system. You don't really need, you don't need good planning and scheduling discipline. You just need this software.
Exactly. And we're exactly at that point right now on AI, machine learning, predictive analytics, digital twin. You know the alphabet soup. My personal preference, my personal feeling on this.
Yeah.
You never ever apply technology until you have the processes totally mapped. You understand exactly what you need done, how it's going to be done.
Right.
Basically, the future state of your
the 52 weeks, the 52 weeks of planning. Yes.
But
exactly.
Now, I firmly believe, and as you know, I've been involved in helping develop some predictive analytics and digital twin systems. They're only as good as the system that they're trying to support.
Garbage in, garbage out, right? Or
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And that's the reason the CMMSs failed. 95% of the CMMSs that were installed never achieved the expected results.
Well, people can't get the data insights they want out of them because they don't
No,
enter the data correctly, or what?
that's not the
Or
problem.
no, what is
On,
it?
on the CMMSs, the problem was they forced you to do it the right way.
Oh,
It was different than the way you've been running the maintenance organization. So what you do is you go back to the CMMS vendor and say, listen, I need you to modify this.
oh, got you.
So, I always ask people when they told me that, I said, if the way you were doing it before worked, why are you buying the CMMS? I mean, that's the one thing the CMMS does is it creates the discipline you need to do the right things at the right time in a timely manner. Well,
Mm-hmm.
same thing on predictive analytics. For an example, use that as an example. Most people view that term as a predictive maintenance program on steroids, and it's not. A predictive analytics program, if and when they ever exist, is a combination of production and vibration and infrared and all the quote unquote predictive technologies.
Predictive technologies, yeah.
It's whatever you need to be able to read the performance of a particular asset. So if I've got a high-speed packaging system, I've got a bunch of assets that make up that system. So I've got to look at each individual asset and all of its failure modes and all of its deviations from normal operation. First, I got to know what normal operation is.
You have to have the baseline, yeah.
So I've got to have the baseline, and then I've got to put them all together into that system. So I've got to look at the forcing functions, which are things that happen within an asset that could result in degradation of performance, as well as the excuse me, I got it backwards. The causal factors that would cause a problem within the asset, and then I've got to look at the forcing functions that the system could induce. It is not a simple solution. So people are still struggling trying to put it together. So right now, the technology that's out there that you could go out and buy today to apply to your maintenance organization is using simple fault trees. For an example, they're saying if you look at the vibration on a pump,
Mm-hmm.
and the one times running speed is greater than 0.825 inches per second peak, then you've got a 90% probability of failure within the next 90 days. So the system has told me that if I don't do something, it's going to fail.
It's going to fail in 3 months.
But legacy exists. So what are you going to do with that information?
What am I going to do, or what should I do?
What are you going to do in legacy system?
You're going to put it, I mean, I would hope you would put in a work order, right?
Yep.
To get the, and plan the work.
And where will it fall into priority?
I would have to, I don't know. I'd put it in the backlog. I don't know.
Well, usually you got a 1 to 10, 10 meaning do it right now, down to 1, do it whenever you get around to it.
I mean, in 90 days, maybe a 5. I don't.
It'll go after all those PMs that you've been doing forever. That 38 to 42% had no value. It'll go behind anything that's perceived as an emergency or a potential breakdown.
Or a breakdown.
It'll go behind all those things you've been doing out of legacy. And if you've got labor and money left after you do all that, you'll get around to it. So probabilities are it's going to fail.
So people aren't able to truly take advantage of.
They don't take advantage of it. That's the problem. So technology is a wonderful thing. I mean, it's going to be eventually when we get smart and we adopt best practices and put the technology in on top of it, we'll have something. I mean, we'll be able to really sing at that point in time, but that's going to take a while.
I mean, what about 2035? What about 10 years from now? You think we'll get there?
We could.
Yeah.
But right now,
Or
We've
some
had,
organizations will. Some organizations that get it, maybe.
oh no, there will be some. There will be some, probably something in the 3 to 5% range of total population. But the message I'd like to leave on that particular part of it is that it all depends. It depends on the life cycles of the world, life cycle engineering of the world, and the other and the other consultants that are out there. As long as we continue to preach legacy, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So we've got to do our responsibility to our clients to make sure that they understand what best practices really are.
Yeah.
So we've got to first acknowledge that what we're now saying as best practices really isn't.
We have to break the mindset, the legacy mindset.
We as consultants have to break the mindset first.
Yeah.
I mean, if we go out, people look to us, in my case, because I'm 82 years old, and say, okay, he must know something. He survived this long. But they look to us for guidance. They look for us for input.
We are the trusted advisors. Yes.
Exactly. I mean, how many times have you heard this at Life Cycle that if we don't leave them better off for having been there, we did something wrong.
We haven't done our jobs.
We haven't done our job. We have that responsibility. It's like the responsibility that every manager from first line supervisor up has in a company. You have a fiduciary responsibility to always make the decisions in the best interest of the company. You always have to do that, but we don't. Sometimes it's because we don't understand what's best for the company. Sometimes it's because we have a vested interest in something else. It's like going back to my history. I was with a company one time where the president was trying to pull off a game on the company. And he got mad at me because I refused to go to the board of directors meeting. You're supposed to be here to support me in this takeover. I said, no, that's not my responsibility.
Right.
My responsibility is to always support the president when the president's doing the right thing for the company. It's my job to stop him when he's not. I'm not going to be there. So it's we are our own worst enemy. We've got to set the right vision for the folks. Now you asked me in the thing, and I'll go ahead and jump to it. Is if you had could embed one idea.
That's what I was gonna. How'd you know where I was going? How'd you know?
We've been working together for a long time, dude. but what Tara asked me. Go ahead and read it, Tara.
I would, if you could. This was the next question that we were gonna go to. If you could embed one idea into the mindset of every executive managing capital assets or in charge of our manufacturing and facilities today, what would it be?
And that was just what we're talking about. Do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
Do the right thing. It's crazy the way, and I'll share one more war story with you. I was an integrated steel mill, 5-plant steel company. And I'm sitting with the executive leadership team. We just finished doing an assessment. And I'm doing my dog and pony show to show them what we found in the assessment. And I put up, I thought, an innocuous slide. And all it said is your output, your total output, last calendar year was X millions of tons. And the president looked at it and said, that's wrong. That's not the right number. I said, well, I pulled it directly out of your accounting system. He said, that's wrong. He spun around to his computer, went into the same system, and spit back another number. The vice president of finance said, you're both wrong. He went into the same system and pulled yet a third number. I think we got a total of 7 different numbers. And I said, if you can't even agree on how many tons of steel you made last year. How do you run a business?
Mm-hmm.
And I found out later by that way that I answered that question. There's a integrated steel mill up outside of Chicago, and there's 57 steps in the production process from raw ore on the dock to tin plate going out the front door. And each one of the 57 steps in that process has to report on their yield. That's the amount of product that they pass on to the next step in the process. So there's 57 of those. And we were having a meeting after we did the assessment. And I said, guys, I want to buy stock in this company. And they looked at me kind of funny and said, what are you talking about? I said, based on your yield reports, you've actually figured out how to create mass. I said, what are you talking about? I said, if you add up all the yield numbers, what you're shipping out the finished goods store is about 150% more than the raw material you brought into the dock. You can't do that. But
what everybody
was doing in each one of those steps is putting just a little twist on the numbers.
Yeah.
So that they look good. But this is corporate America today. This is the battle we're fighting. And if I could just get the executive leadership team to take the blinders off and start looking at what's really going on in their organization, where not people aren't maliciously skewing the numbers.
Right.
I mean, none of this is malicious. It's just the systems are broken.
Yeah, and it's back to, it's back to what we were just talking about, what we've been talking about this whole episode. It's that culture that, life cycle asset management that includes people, human capital. But it's a cultural shift from and doing the right thing that needs to be ingrained in the organization, and that comes from the top. That comes from the top.
It has to. I mean, that was. I promise not to do this. I said no more war stories, but I got to do one more.
Okay, bring it.
I had my own consulting company before I joined Life Cycle. Had 350 private. They were the best engineers, best business people I could find. And we were doing basically what became EuroRx. That's where the pattern came from. But we started up really, really fast. We had a major corporation hired us when we were basically a 3-man crew to do a transformation on a manufacturing plant that was spending $500 million with a B dollars a year on maintenance. So we had to ramp the company fast. I had 2 friends who had their own companies. We brought them in and created a 350-man company. We had no policies and procedures, nothing. We were all 100% direct charge from day one. We were all living out of hotel rooms day one. And all I was hearing coming back through the organization was complaining. So, in frustration, I called an all-hands meeting. We met in a Marriott hotel in Maryville, Indiana, all 350 of us. And I said, okay, guys, we got a problem. What the heck is going on? Why are you unhappy? And they hemmed and hawed and gave me all kinds of stuff about travel and hotels and things like that. And I said, look, I'll never ask you to do anything I won't do. If you're traveling, I'm traveling too. I'm here with you, working same hours you are.
Yeah.
We're staying in the best hotels I can find, Marriott's, Hilton's. I mean, you're not staying in Days Inn. What do you want? I said, well, we need a health club. I looked at him and said, guys, ain't none of you been in a health club in 20 years. What do you really want? Basically, it boiled down to this, and this is the reason I'm telling the war story. They finally, in unison, says, we don't want to work as hard as you do.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
I said, in that case, I suggest you find another job. But see, that's the difference between my attitude and a typical manager's attitude today. Manager's attitude, even at the CEO level, is so paranoid that an employee will quit, that they will not confront them. They will not set the expectation of what they expect that employee to do. So basically, the employee, it's up to the employee. If they're the typical type A's that are just natural overachievers, they're going to carve out a hole for themselves where they can add what they perceive as value to the customer. The rest of the organization is just going to kind of float because they have no direction.
Right. And I think that goes back to what you were talking about the mission, right?
Yeah.
About have the mission, set those expectations, build that culture. You know, gosh, Keith, we've talked about a lot of things today.
Probably too many for one podcast.
I think we're gonna break it up into a couple of episodes, actually, because it's just so great. We talked about you know, the life cycle asset management as being a philosophy, as being a culture. It's not a maintenance thing. We talked about the essential role of leadership. We talked about the concepts in the asset management standard, ISO 55000. We talked about maintenance needs a mission, be masters of your destiny, proclaim to the organization the value that you bring, you know, and work on that 52-week plan. And you got to have a budget that makes sense. That's not just an arbitrary number. So many nuggets. I can't wait to write like the summary for this podcast for our listeners.
Well, let me leave them with two other things.
Please.
The other reason for doing 52 weeks is the workload is not uniform.
Right.
The work hours are not uniform because you got vacations and holidays and sick leave and things like that. So both of those are variables. If you look at your plan over 52 weeks, the budget cycle, then you can load level.
Yep.
If you're looking 6 weeks out, you can't load level. There's no way. So, I mean, it's the only chance you've got of matching your work requirements to your actual net workload. The other thing, since we're talking about culture change, I'd like to leave everybody with is if you're ever thinking about doing something different in your organization, remember this: every employee, including you, has to have a clear line of sight to the impact of their job on the corporate profitability. Without that line of sight, they don't understand the value of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Every time a technician turns a wrench, or every time an electrician troubleshoots a circuit, he or she is adding value to the value stream. If they don't see that and don't understand that, they feel like they're wasting their time. There's just no value in this.
There's no motivation, and they
Correct.
don't know how important they are.
Right.
And that what you do, that's so inspirational. Thank you, Keith. That's a great, I'm just going to end it on that because I think that is so inspirational. It is that you are important, and you're important to the organization, and you are helping the success or not of the company with what you do. Yep. And they got to see that. And whose job is that? Whose job is that to help them see that?
You want me to answer that question?
I do.
I'm the manager. It's my job.
That's right. That is right. Yeah. And you know, thank you for preaching. Thank you for preaching. Thank you for evangelizing with us, Keith. This has been a delightful time with you, Keith. Okay, so you heard it here, listeners. We're going to put some resources in the episode notes for you. Keith Mobley is on LinkedIn, so you can connect with him there. But thank you, Keith, for for joining us. Thank you, listeners, for joining us. And until next time, listeners, let's stay smarter, people.